Thank you. So I'm here. My name is Maxim Orlovsky, and I'm representing Pandora Prime company. What we're trying to do is we try to pioneer Bitcoin finance, what we call BFI, and we do that in many different ways, including our work on RGB, the smart contracts for Bitcoin. But today we are not talking about that part. We are talking about the other part, which is Bitcoin self-custody and how to build self-sovereignty with Bitcoin, which we believe must be the part of the future finance industry, the self-custody and self-sovereignty. And the problem with that is really, really hard. And you probably know that people say that the freedom is not something that you have, it's something that you are constantly fighting for. And that's what you are able to protect. And the self-sovereignty as a part of the freedom is also a thing that is expensive in terms of your investments of your own time, of your own learning, of your own management, of your own stuff, and so on and so forth. So what we are trying to do is to make these things more reachable with the project which we call My Citadel. And My Citadel is not just an app, it's actually an initiative that tries to build a suite of apps and services and products which help people to maintain their self-sovereignty. And one might say that what's hard with this self-custody? I just pick up one of these hardware wallets and I just set up, put my Bitcoin on that, I have a cold storage, everything is fine, and that's it. Unfortunately, that's not that simple. And let's start with the simplest example. Like I have hardware wallets. I do some form of wallet like the legacy wallet or SegWit or even Taproot. Well, first of all, you can leak your seed data from backup. For instance, somebody found your card, so you have to manage somehow how to store it. Or if you don't backup, you can lose your device and lose all your funds. It's not that somebody will steal them, but you wouldn't have access to them. You can't do anything related to any kind of organization. If you have, for instance, some startup and you would like to get into Bitcoins with that startup, this thing doesn't work for that. You can't do a shared account with your wife, or you can't have an inheritance plan for your children. So this simple setup doesn't address like 90% of the needs in a safe way. So, okay, another step which we can take is just let's have a multiple hardware wallets, and that's it. We have multi-sig, which kind of a saving or holding account. And then everything, all the problems solved? Well, not. Again, you can lose devices or you can leak one of the seeds. It wouldn't be enough to store your funds, but it's already a security leak which requires to do something with this setup. It's not, again, applicable to orgs because you just have a single person. Again, no shared accounts. Again, no inheritance plan. So, okay, we can do further. We can have multiple people, each of them having hardware wallets. You see, it's already the complexity that you have to find these people. I'm not saying anything about the trust relations, but you have all the same problems in place. Like one of them can leak the seed. You need to take that into account. Again, it's not applicable to organizations. While you have multiple people, what happens is some of them got fired or something. How you manage the dynamicity of the organization. And again, not clear how you construct inheritance which can take part in the future. And it's not that much dependent on the people as on the timeline. And here, where the final setup comes into play, where you add additional to multiple hardware wallets owned by multiple people, not one-to-one, but probably one-to-many, additional condition, which is a time blocking. That's where you introduce a timing concept. And that setup actually is the setup primitive with which you can do all these things, starting from inheritance plan to complex company management and so on and so forth. Another trick is that here you just don't have a time block. It's a degrading time block, meaning that you set up an account where you have, for instance, 4 of 4, which in 2 years become 3 of 4, which in 5 years become 2 of 4, or any signature in 10 years, something like that. So it's not just a single condition, but a set of conditions which are alternative to each other depending on the time lock. So how this works in practice? Well, we have an example organization, 3 people, like 3 directors, and each of them having 2 hardware wallets to secure the funds. Why we have 2 hardware wallets? Well, because we would like to have a setup of 3 of 6. Why we need such a setup? Because let's imagine each of them loses one of the devices or leak one of the seed phrases. Still, the funds are accessible by the organization. So such a setup can tolerate loss of up to 3 hardware wallets. Or, alternatively, any 2 of these directors can sign that transaction, even if some of the directors are lost or fired. So, in this case, if we have one director lost and another hardware wallet lost, we still have access to the funds. So we can tolerate the stress testing of losing one person plus additionally losing one of hardware devices. However, what if we lose another device? Well, in that case, the access to the funds is lost. So what we can do is to mitigate that risk is that we can set up a time locking condition which converts this 3 of 6 multi-sig into 2 of 6 multi-sig in 2 years, or maybe longer time. So the worst case that would happen here, somebody dies, you lose 2 devices, but still you just need to wait 2 years to get the access to the funds. What happens is if the pandemic continues? Well, in that case, you can add additional condition that any single key can spend funds in 3 years. But you also like to protect that this person, let's say everybody alive, rare case, and this person just, they all forget about that condition. So eventually, one of them gets access to all the funds and can steal them. So you can introduce a lawyer whose signature is required after 3 years, together with any of these signatures. So you have additional layer of protection. But in the condition when you lost everybody and there is a lawyer now has a golden share. Basically, he can blackmail saying that I'm not going to sign this transaction unless you pay me half of the amount, because he understands that without him, there is no access for funds for you. And for that condition, you will better have one of 2 lawyers, any of these signatures, together combined with one of the keys from the organization. And these lawyers shouldn't be knowing each other. And that is exactly the same setup that can be applied for inheritance plans as well, not just organization, because you can, for instance, if you want to be sure that after your death, one of your family members, together with one of the lawyers, can proceed with the funds and give them to one of your ancestors, or one of your ancestors together with approval from the lawyer can do that. So it is the same universal setup which can work. But let's count here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 signing devices, 5 people, and 3 time locks. So it's not trivial, right, to manage the setup of that form. And that's while you still can do all this good stuff. You can create Bitcoin companies, you can make something that is Bitcoin DAOs, or you can have inheritance plan and family accounts. It's not that easy to do it today. So the genuine guess is, can we do that with a taproot? We have taproot, let's do that thing. Well, there is one thing which is hardware wallets are just beginning supporting taproot script spendings. They are all supporting the taproot key path spendings, but you see, because of the time locking conditions, you can't get away with just Multi-sig, which is also not ready. You can't get away with the Frost. You can't get away with a just multi-sig and script path. You need much more complex setup. And that complex setup, as of today, I wouldn't say that none of the existing hardware wallets support them. Some of them start in testing mode or not yet, but like when we were creating the software, none of them was last year. So with the taproot, it's not that easy. And another point is that in this setup, it is desirably that these hardware wallets will be from different vendors. such that if one of the chip vendors got hacked and there is a vulnerability exploited, it actually be equal to losing one of the hardware wallets, but not all of them. So you basically need that not just a single hardware wallet support Taproot, you need to have at least three different vendors supporting the same capabilities of TapScript, which is not the case even today. So we can't do that with a Taproot. Well, we can do that with a SegWit and Miniscript in a simple way, and the reality that we know we can't, because Miniscript prohibits reuse of the same keys in different spending path conditions. So if you have this setup, you can't do that with a Miniscript, because this key, this, and this key will be participating in 1, 2, 3 different spending conditions. And Miniscript prohibits that, because it allows the thing called malleability. So you can create a signature for, let's say, this condition, and another user receiving the PSBT to sign it, he can reapply your signature to a different spending condition. That's malleability. I had some argument with the authors of Miniscript, Andrew Pelstra, that like in trustless setup, that's the case. Malleability is the issue. But in many, many setups for companies, it's not a problem at all. Because here, you can't exploit malleability anyhow. Because either 2 years has passed, and you can use this condition, or it hasn't, and malleability doesn't change any spending rules. However, I failed to prove that, so the scientific purity won. And we don't have malleability in Miniscript, but as a result, we can't use existing wallets supporting SegWit and even Miniscript to do such setup in a simple way. So that's why what we were trying to keep with the My Citadel is to provide some user-ready solution to do such setups without reusing the same keys, but with reusing the same hardware devices. So self-sovereignty is hard, but we try to make it much more reachable, taking the complexity of managing such complex things for you. Now, I will do a demo. I will do it in slides showing screenshots to save the time. How much time do I have?
15 minutes.
15 minutes. OK, great. To start working with My Citadel, right now it is a desktop application. It supports Windows, macOS, and Linux, of course. You need to go to the website, which is mycitadel.io, and press the download button. I would like to do a disclaimer that My Citadel never touches any of your private key material or seed phrases. It never produces any signature. The only thing that My Citadel does is it can work with the hardware signers, different vendors of hardware signers. Alternatively, it can produce a PSBT file. You can have a read-only wallet, which can still produce a PSBT file, which you then use to sign with the hardware signers, or you can use it to sign it in even different wallet software like Electrum, Sparrow, and so on and so forth. So basically, My Citadel is the thing that has not, even in the level of the code, what we did is that we don't have a structures for private keys at all. The whole My Citadel written in Rust. There is no even user interface. There is no JavaScript. There is no other language involved. It doesn't use the cryptographic libraries which are able to produce private keys. It can't even do a derivation for hardened path components. So you have a code level guarantees that the security issues and the private key material never get to the RAM. Anyway, so you need to download this. You go to the website. The download button brings you to GitHub, where you have the latest release. As of today, it is 1.4. And you scroll down, and you have the list of the different distribution packages, plus signatures on them, this TXT and TXT ISC file. These packages are coming right to today. We have 4 installers. We have a Debian package. We have Flatpak. We have Windows installer. And from the last version, 1.4, we have also app image. Many requested app image. And we try to add more and more installers with each release. The main problem prevents us from doing all of them is the fact that we are using HVI library from Bitcoin. And this HVI library is the Python code. And so we basically, to create installer, we need to ship a correct version of the Python and bundle the HVI. So that's the problem that we are, which prevents us from shipping more installers. I said that we also support macOS. It is indeed so, but we don't have a ready-to-go installer. So basically, we need to compile from sources for the macOS, which I think is good. Once you start the program, you would have this launcher screen, which presents you with the templates for creating most common use cases of the wallets. So for instance, you can have a single SigWatch only wallet, and then you wouldn't be able to use the hardware wallet signer. You will just need to paste in the XPub key. You can have a current wallet, which is a single signature wallet, which you can spend with the hardware signers. Or the one that I will be talking today is the hodling wallet, which allows these time locking conditions. Of course, you can always go for a custom wallet where you can customize any mini script or any conditions you would like to. But templates, they're usually making things easier for non-experienced users to start. Or you can open existing wallet, the one that you created before. When you create a new wallet with one of the templates, you will have this wallet settings screen where you can connect devices or add XPubs, and they represent the signers. And each signer have all the information about the key, where it comes from, and one of the important properties is this account number. So you can use the same hardware device, producing multiple XPubs and multiple signers. The only thing that you need when you add the device, you connect the device, you select the account number you import. So from one device, you can produce literally an unlimited amount of accounts. Or if you have 3 devices, you can have 2 accounts per device. So you would end up with 6 signers. Why it is important? It is important at the moment when you set up the spending conditions. I will go to this screen, which shows this situation. So, for instance, you will have 6 signers, let's say. Actually, I think 6 or 3, the case that we were discussing. You have 6 or 3 signers, and each person have 2 signatures, and these 2 signatures must be derived from a different account number, let's say 0 and 1. And then what you do is that you say that all signatures can spend at any time. It's always desirable to have this condition, just in case. At least 3 signatures are required to spend this amount coming from a specific account number. So in that way, you distinguish different spending paths such that you are not reusing the keys inside the same spending path. You can also optionally specify a time lock period after which this condition will be true. And finally, you can say that any signature starting from some date in the future or after a certain period of time, so you have both absolute time lock and relative time locks, will be able to spend this wallet as well. So this is another screenshot of the same screen where you see that you can check the calendar, or you can skip specifying which account number should be used. So basically, this is a way how you can customize your time lock conditions to the very details. You can add more conditions with add conditions, so there could be like 10 of them or whatever amount you need. If you do something wrong, there will be a message, and you wouldn't be able to generate the descriptor. And that's how, for instance, a descriptor for such wallet is looking like. So it's quite a lot of code. If you would need to write that by hand, it would be just literally impossible to do that right way. And this descriptor can be copied and imported into Sparrow and other wallets which support miniscript descriptors. And of course, you can select other options for creating the descriptor. Finally, you can set up the network. So you can run it on testnet or signet, probably with the one that supports signet, not much to do that. And you can, by default, you use Blockstream Electrum server, or you can provide your own custom server and you can test the connection. Now, once you've done that, you got into the main wallet interface. You will have zero balance, of course, when you created the wallet. Here it shows that basically you will be able to see the history of your operations, including transaction ID, balance at each height. You will have access to the addresses, to the coins, and you can do payments and receive payments. When you create payments, that's the interface that you have. You pass in the address, you specify amount, or you use the maximum amount. There could be multiple beneficiaries, and you can specify fee or pick one of the fees from the estimation provided by Electrum server. I have to say that unfortunately Blockstream Electrum server gives wrong estimations of the fees. When you click the compose button, what you do is you actually create a PSBD file, which you can save and export. And you can add signatures to this file using hardware signer. So here we have a signature which already signed the PSBD, but without that you will have a button to sign, and you can add the signature and share this PSBD file between participants. So that's pretty simple interface. Well, it's still complicated, but pretty simple comparing to writing descriptor by yourself or trying to compose PSBD from the command line. We have a lot of plans, what we would like to add to My Citadel in the future. And starting from this desktop application, the very next things we are working on is, first of all, we're integrating the NIM Mix network. And the NIM actually is one of the companies, the company which uses My Citadel today for managing their own accounts, and they're supporting the project for more than a year already. So we are very grateful to them. And in terms of is the My Citadel production ready? Well, we wouldn't say that ever, but we have passed our all funds for 2 years through the My Citadel, and some companies using that already in production. So I think that's a signature. The very interesting thing is that we are working on adding Nostr support to set up multi-sigs between users and to share PSBD files between participants of the same multi-sig. We will provide a service as a part of My Citadel cloud service, such that people can easily set up a private instance in the cloud and use it for synchronizing the multi-sigs in terms of annotations on the past transactions, in terms of partially Bitcoin transactions which are being in the process of signature, and on establishing new wallets. Also, we're adding functionality that will help financial reporting, so that you can export the history of the wallet for multi-sig accounts together with the comments. One other product we are working today is called My RGB. It's a version of My Citadel that supports RGB assets and smart contracts. We were originally planning to add it to the My Citadel itself, but because of the complexity we have managing the mini scripts and hardware wallets, since the hardware wallets do not support RGB, mini script descriptors are not compatible with RGB, we decided to have two different products. One simple one for people who would like to play with RGB assets, which are still early stage, and the one who professionally uses Bitcoin, but so far without RGB support. So soon we will be releasing this app. It's written, the My Citadel that we have is GTK3. This one is GTK4. It's more modern, and we think that it will work also, well, not think, we know that it will work also on mobile phones running Purism operating system. Additionally to that, we are working on mobile apps. Well, the first release of My Citadel happened in 2021, and it was iOS version. So the mobile apps are in work in progress, and basically once we're happy with the desktop version written in Rust, we will wrap it into wrapper to be used in the iOS and Kotlin, add the user interface on top, and we will have mobile version with the same business logic as in the desktop application. We also have a private cloud setup, which we're planning to make publicly accessible, such that you can easily deploy a Bitcoin Core or Electrum instance paying per month as your private instance in the cloud. This project we do together with Nodal. And also together with Nodal, we are working on My Citadel branded homebox, which additionally to all Bitcoin Core will also run the code necessary for Nostr and My Citadel synchronization between the wallets. And finally, one of the things we would like to integrate a BIP85 password generation feature, such that you can use My Citadel for managing passwords in the organization. You can check for our news and releases and contact us through this channel. We have a Twitter account, My Citadel low-io. We have a GitHub where all the code is open source. And we have a Telegram chat, which you can also connect and always talk to us. That's all. Thank you.
Anybody have some questions?
I have a technical question because I'm a technical person. You mentioned that Miniscript does not support having the same public key in multiple spending paths.
Miniscript.
Miniscript, yeah. And so you seem to have solved this using XPubs, right? And using
different
derivation
account
paths.
numbers. So basically, you end up having different keys in different
Yeah.
spending paths.
So in the end, you could still use Miniscript, but it's slightly more, it's more code complexity, right?
Yes, exactly.
So it would have been easier to use Miniscript if it's supported using the same public key in multiple spending paths. Because
Yeah, it will be simpler for
you.
user because people now you need to explain people what this account number means
Yeah. All right.
and how to properly generate the multiple accounts for the same signing device. And one of the things I also forgot to say that basically, as far as I know, at least people tell us that when you create multi-sigs with a My Citadel, not time locked, but general multi-sigs, we are the only one that allows you to register this new multi-sig wallet with a Miniscript on the ledger devices. So basically, you're not doing a blind signature. The ledger registers 5 of 3 or so 3 or 5 or some other multi-sig that you have, and after that you can be sure that you support and sign the proper transaction.
Thanks for it in Nick's show. Thanks. But it's been compiling for ages.
Any question more?
Thank you.